then our journey begins right now. Have you ever wondered why some people succeed while others quit so quickly? Is it because they're smarter, more gifted, or simply luckier? No. The real difference lies in one thing: consistency. And I'm not talking about temporary enthusiasm, the kind that fades after a few days. I'm talking about a quiet, persistent discipline that doesn't rely on emotions. It's the strength to keep going when you're tired, bored, or when the world turns its back on you. This is the foundation that every lasting success is built upon. I used to think inspiration was what kept me going, but inspiration is like the wind. It comes fast and leaves even faster. You can't build a house on the wind, but you can build a future on steady actions, repeated day in and day out. Most people begin with excitement. They write down goals. They shout, "I'm going to change my life." But a few days later, life pushes back. A cold morning, a stressful meeting, a rejection, and suddenly they start to postpone. I'm not saying this to judge you. I'm saying it so you can forgive yourself and start again from a stronger foundation. That foundation is consistency, not because you feel like it, but because you're committed. When you act consistently, you begin to build a new kind of trust. Trust in yourself. Every time you overcome laziness, every time you keep a promise to yourself, you are proving, silently and powerfully, I'm someone I can rely on. And once you can trust yourself, everything changes. You no longer wait for encouragement. You stop depending on your mood. You don't wait for motivation to act. You become the force that drives you. Look at truly successful people, athletes, artists, entrepreneurs. Do you think they wake up every day full of passion? Of course not. They have bad days too. But the difference is they still show up. They still train. They still write. They still make the calls. They take action, even when no one's watching, even when no one claps. Because they understand something simple but powerful. Repetition creates results. At first, your efforts may seem unnoticed. But think of a snowball rolling down a mountain. With every push, it grows. Consistency is that push. Without it, nothing moves. You might do the right thing today and see no change, but do it again tomorrow and the next day, and again the week after. One day you'll wake up and realize you are no longer who you used to be. You've changed. Not loudly, not dramatically, but in the quietest and most sustainable way possible. And here's something important. Consistency is not a gift. It's a skill, a choice. Just like a muscle, the more you use it, the stronger it becomes. You don't have to start big. Start small. So small you can't fail. 5 minutes of reading, 10 minutes of journaling, 1 push-up every morning. You're not doing it because you enjoy it. You're doing it because this is who you want to become. Every small, consistent act sends a message to your brain. This is who I am now. And when you repeat it enough, your brain will believe it, and you'll begin to act from that new identity. But don't confuse consistency with perfection. You will miss a day. You will slip. What matters is how fast you come back. It's not I never fall. It's I always get back up. You don't need to be the most talented. If you are more consistent than others, you will go further. That's a promise from me to you. And it's a promise you must make to yourselves. From now on, every morning, remind yourself, I don't need inspiration. I need action. And I will show up, no matter what. Because if you keep showing up, you will surpass those who are smarter, stronger, or even luckier than you. Life doesn't reward those who start. It rewards those who stay. And I truly believe you can be that person. If you've ever told yourself, I'll do it maybe tomorrow, or I just need a bit more time to prepare, you're not alone. Procrastination isn't laziness. It's your brain's defense mechanism when faced with fear, uncertainty, or overwhelm. And perfectionism, though it may sound noble, is often the most deceptive mask procrastination wears. Left unchecked, both will silently steal your time, your energy, and eventually your confidence in yourself. I want you to understand one thing clearly. Procrastination is the silent thief of success. It doesn't scream, it doesn't make noise, but it seeps into every small decision, keeping you in a state of, I'll start someday. But someday never comes. You don't need more time. You need to start right now with whatever you have. When something feels scary or too much to handle, your brain will instinctively seek escape, scrolling your phone, watching short videos, snacking, or switching to easier tasks. That's not because you lack discipline, it's because you haven't yet learned to reduce resistance. The key is not to focus on the whole task. Start with just 5 minutes. Say to yourself, I only need to do this for 5 minutes and then I can stop if I want. Most of the time, once you begin, you'll go far beyond those 5 minutes. Stop waiting for inspiration. Motivation doesn't precede action, it follows it. It's action, even the smallest kind, that generates momentum. Stop overthinking. Act. You don't need to know everything, you just need to do the first thing. Another cause of procrastination is perfectionism. You hesitate to begin because you fear not doing it well enough. But here's the truth. Nothing excellent is born perfect on the first try. Perfection is just an excuse to avoid failure. Yet while you're waiting for the perfect moment, others have already started, made mistakes, and made progress. You must pursue progress, not perfection. Done is better than perfect when perfect never gets done. Creating artificial deadlines is another effective way to beat procrastination. Without a clear deadline, your brain assumes you have all the time in the world. Set a cutoff point. Remind yourself. Share it with someone. Schedule it like a non-negotiable appointment. If your focus is often broken by your environment, take control of your space. Turn off notifications. Close unnecessary tabs. Clean your desk. Place your phone out of reach. When your space is detoxed, your behavior becomes easier to direct. A simple but powerful strategy is the 2-minute rule. If a task takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. If the task feels too big, break it into parts that only take 2 minutes to start. Small actions reduce mental resistance, and repeated small actions build momentum. You also need accountability. Tell someone what you're working on. Let them check in on your progress. Knowing that someone is counting on you doubles the chances you'll follow through. Your environment shapes you more than you think. Surround yourself with action takers. If you're constantly around procrastinators, you'll absorb their energy. But if you immerse yourself in a space filled with commitment and drive, you'll be pulled upward. Choose your environment intentionally. Procrastination feeds on excuses. I'm not ready. I'm tired. Next week will be better. Every excuse sounds reasonable until you pause and ask, what's the worst that could happen if I just start? And then ask again, what will happen if I don't? Picture the consequences of continued delay. A year from now, you're still in the same place. Same dreams, no progress. Now imagine the reward of taking action today. Confidence, growth, real results. Which picture makes you feel proud? Every time you overcome procrastination and complete even the smallest task, you are rebuilding trust with yourself. You're proving that you're capable. This trust is invisible, but it is one of your most valuable assets. In the end, you don't need a massive goal, you need a daily system of actions. Don't just say, I want to write a book. Say, I will write for 30 minutes every morning. Turn a wish into a schedule. Turn a dream into a habit. When actions become part of your daily rhythm, procrastination loses its grip. And don't forget, reward yourself. Every time you push through resistance and take action, celebrate a moment of rest, a small treat, a kind word to yourself. These reinforce the behavior you want to repeat. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to begin. And then keep going. Day by day, actions become habits. Habits shape who you are. And who you are is not forged in the easy moments, but in the ones where you chose to act, even when it was hard. Procrastination and perfectionism only hold power when you stay silent and step back. But the moment you act, they lose it all. And you become the most powerful, courageous, and consistent version of yourself. My friend, let me ask you a simple yet profound question. What do you believe separates successful people from everyone else? Is it luck, talent, circumstances? I've observed, reflected, and lived long enough to realize it's none of those. The true difference lies in self-discipline. Discipline is the bridge between dreams and reality. It's not an innate trait, it's a habit forged day by day, hour by hour, even in your most exhausted, directionless, or unmotivated moment. Have you ever promised yourself, I'll start tomorrow, only to come up with an excuse when tomorrow arrived? You're not alone. Most of us have been there. But here's the truth. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you chip away at the most important trust you'll ever need, the trust in yourself. Discipline isn't restriction. It's not the removal of freedom. In fact, discipline is the foundation of freedom. When you gain control over your actions, you stop being a slave to emotions, to circumstances, to delay. You become the master. And that feeling, that deep, steady sense of being in control of your life, is one of the most powerful and peaceful states a person can experience. So where does discipline begin? With the smallest acts. Don't wait for a grand surge of motivation. Make your bed in the morning. Drink a glass of water. Get up when the alarm rings without hitting snooze. These seemingly trivial actions are the first bricks in building a solid foundation. Discipline doesn't come from inspiration. It comes from commitment. Commitment to doing what you said you'd do, regardless of your mood. Commitment to showing up for yourself, even on your darkest days. It's not about forcing yourself, it's about choosing to stand beside the best version of who you can become. And then something remarkable happens. The more you keep your word to yourself, the more you begin to trust yourself. That trust becomes the fuel that feeds your persistence. And that persistence is what takes you further than talent or luck ever could. When you train discipline, you also develop a form of invisible power, mental strength. It doesn't shout, it doesn't boast, but it holds you steady when everything around you is shaking. It carries you forward when others have already given up. It's the inner flame, small but unwavering, that lights your entire path forward. Mental strength doesn't come from never failing. It comes from not letting failure define who you are. You fall and you rise. You're tired, but you move anyway. Each time you forge a stronger armor, more resilient, more grounded than before. Understand this. Disciplined people aren't that way because they always want to take action. They're disciplined because they decided to act before emotions had a chance to interfere. They don't wait to feel like it. They follow one principle. I do this because I chose this path. Don't confuse discipline with harshness. Training discipline doesn't mean abandoning joy or living a rigid life. On the contrary, discipline gives birth to a deeper, longer-lasting joy, the kind that comes from knowing you're progressing, growing, and mastering yourself. Maybe today you only wrote a few lines, worked out for 15 minutes, or learned a single new thing. But if you do that every day, you will no longer be the same person. You are shaping a new identity, steadfast, solid, unshaken by temptation or disappointment. And here's the secret I want you to never forget. Intentional repetition creates greatness. Not a single explosive effort, not short-lived glory, but quiet, steady, conscious, purposeful repetition. That is the true foundation of lasting success. You don't have to be superhuman. You just have to be the one who shows up every day, who keeps your promises even when tired, discouraged, or still waiting on results, because results don't come overnight, but they always come to those who do not quit. Start today. Don't try to do everything. Just choose one small action. Do it every day and treat it like a sacred commitment. Soon, discipline will no longer be something you struggle to maintain. It will become part of who you are. And when that happens, nothing will be able to stop you. Not because you're never afraid, but because you act even in fear. Not because you're always strong, but because you refuse to let weakness make decisions for you. My friend, let today's action be a declaration of a new future. Let discipline be the gift you give yourself. Let each day be living proof that you no longer live by fleeting emotions, but by a clear and powerful long-term vision. I believe in you. Not because I'm blandly optimistic, but because I've seen people like you, step by step, day by day, build what once seemed impossible. And now, it's your turn. There's an invisible enemy that always shows up the moment you decide to begin. Just as you sit down to write, start exercising, or change an old habit, it appears. Quiet, persistent, relentless. It doesn't arrive with a fierce face, but with familiar whispers. You can do it later. You're tired today, start fresh tomorrow. Don't push too hard, skipping one day won't hurt. I call it resistance. Resistance is not an event, it's an energy, a force that rises every time you attempt something meaningful. And here's what you need to know. Resistance never truly goes away, but you can outmaneuver it and win every single day. My friend, I'm not telling you a fairy tale about unbreakable willpower. I'm sharing a truth that anyone striving for something better has faced. Resistance is part of the mind. It's not your enemy unless you allow it to take control. Resistance feeds on delay, fear, and lack of clarity. The more vague your goals are, the more mentally drained you feel, the easier it is for resistance to pull you under. So the first step to beating resistance is not trying harder, it's making your goals clearer, more specific, and simpler. Don't write, I need to write a chapter today. Write, I will write 500 words from 8 to 9 a.m. Don't say, I'll exercise. Say, I'll walk for 20 minutes right after breakfast. The more specific you are, the less space resistance has to thrive. Next, lower the starting threshold as much as possible. Resistance is strongest when you're still thinking, but it begins to lose power the moment you take action. Tell yourself, I'll just do this for 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. But those 5 minutes are your first sword against inertia. Sometimes simply starting is the biggest win of the day. And once you begin, you usually go farther than you thought. Action is the most powerful antidote to resistance. Resistance also loves to deceive you. It makes you believe you have to wait until you feel ready. But remember this, you will never feel fully ready. Emotions fluctuate. Commitment does not. Anchor yourself to commitment, not to your mood. Also understand that resistance is clever. It doesn't just hold you back with laziness. It disguises itself in logic. You should research more before you begin. Read a bit more first. Study just a little longer before taking action. But if you look closer, you'll see it's just fear wearing the mask of knowledge. The only way to break this cycle is to start imperfectly. Let action lead. Learn along the way. Adjust as needed. But don't wait for the fog to clear, because that moment never comes. Another critical strategy is identifying your personal resistance patterns. Observe yourself. What time of day do you tend to quit? What task usually triggers distractions? Who or what tends to derail your focus? Write down these weak points and create counter strategy. If you're often distracted at home, change your environment. If you scroll your phone every morning, leave it in another room overnight. Every barrier you remove brings you one step closer to consistency. Don't forget the power of emotional cues. Before you start your task each day, ask yourself, how will I feel once this is done? Connect action to the feeling of completion, because the brain seeks pleasure, and you're using that very instinct to move yourself forward. There will be days when nothing feels like it's working. Resistance will feel like a heavy fog over your thoughts. On those days, hold to a single rule. Just don't quit. You may do less than usual. You may only complete part of the task, but your presence is already a victory. Every time you take even one small step through resistance, you reinforce inner trust. My friend, remember, you're not alone in this fight. Even the most exceptional people face resistance every single day. The difference is they don't let it rule them. They recognize it, they feel it, and they move through it, bit by bit, with relentless determination. Don't wait for a day without resistance. Become the person resistance cannot break. The more you act despite it, the closer you move toward real freedom, the kind that liberates you from the very barriers your own mind has created. And one day, As you look back on your journey, you may not remember every small victory, but you will remember that you never stopped. That will be the moment you realize you didn't just defeat resistance, you defeated your former self and rose into someone stronger. When people witness someone achieving remarkable success, they often ask, "What's your secret?" They talk about habits, about systems, about the small, repetitive things they do every day, often boring, often unnoticed, but quietly responsible for lifting them to the top. If you want to change your life, don't start with grand plans or lofty goals. Start with a small action repeated daily until it becomes second nature. When you build the right habits, you no longer need to fight yourself every day. You simply move in rhythm. Habits are choices you once made, but have since programmed into instinct. You don't need to think about brushing your teeth every morning. You don't have to consciously decide to fasten your seatbelt. And if you build the right habits, your progress will become just as natural. But here's something you must understand. Willpower alone is not enough. Willpower is the fuel to get started, but systems are the tracks that keep you on course. This is where you need to design a solid system of action, a system that doesn't depend on emotion or motivation, but operates as a personal commitment. It's this simple. Want to read more? Your system is reading 10 pages each morning before checking your phone. Want to write a book? Your system is writing for 30 minutes every day at a fixed time. I'm not asking if you're motivated. I'm asking, what system have you set up to protect what you're pursuing? Someone without a system, no matter how strong their start, is likely to fall off track within days. But someone with a system, even if they move slowly, always returns to the rhythm. And that's who ultimately wins. You may think a system will confine you, but the truth is a system gives you freedom. When you no longer need to make a decision each day, you conserve willpower and energy for more important matters. A system turns things I should do into things that simply happen. And you stop wrestling with yourself every time resistance shows up. A writer doesn't always feel inspired, but if they write at the same hour each day, the manuscript gets done. An athlete doesn't always feel energized, but if they train according to a consistent schedule, they maintain their form. Stability comes from systems, not from fleeting inspiration. So how do you build a system that works for you? First, start simple. Don't try to build 5 or 10 new habits at once. Choose one thing and make it an essential part of your daily routine. Once it becomes automatic, add the next layer. Second, attach the new habit to an existing one. For example, after I make my morning coffee, I'll write 3 ideas in my notebook. This is called habit stacking. Your brain begins to accept this as a sequence, and you no longer need effort to remember or force yourself to do it. Third, design your system to be fail-proof. If you want to run, but the weather often derails you, have a backup plan. Indoor workouts, jump rope, or quick body weight exercises. Don't let predictable obstacles break your rhythm. Fourth, always track your progress. A marked-up calendar, a habit tracking app, or a simple journal noting your efforts. All of these keep your motivation alive. When you see your streak building, you won't want to break it. And finally, never underestimate the power of repetition. At first, you have to remind yourself constantly. After a month, it becomes easier. After 3 months, you'll feel something's missing if you skip it. After a year, people will ask, "How do you stay so consistent?" And your answer won't be, "I have strong willpower," or "I'm extremely disciplined." Your answer will be, "I have a system. I have habits." Systems don't just help you maintain. They help you grow beyond expectations. When you no longer waste energy on starting, you can invest all your focus into evolving. Every day, you only need to do one thing well, but do it right, consistently, and without interruption, and you'll be amazed when you look back at the road you've covered. My friend, you don't need superpowers to change your life. You only need to understand that success doesn't come from one heroic act. It comes from thousands of small, repeated actions no one else sees. And those actions are habits. Those habits are nurtured and protected by systems. And systems, quiet but unwavering, are the pathway to any peak you choose to climb. I want you to picture this. You're standing on a long road with tempting turnoffs on either side. One path invites you to rest, another encourages you to quit, and the only road that leads to success has no flashy signs, no cheering crowd, and no immediate rewards. It only offers one thing: relentless repetition, day after day. I'm telling you this because somewhere inside you there was a moment when you gave up on a goal left unfinished, a dream never reached, a once exciting plan now covered in dust. But here's what you need to know. You're not lacking ability. You're lacking belief in continuation. And today I want to help you reclaim that. Because the person who never gives up isn't the strongest, isn't the smartest, it's the one who endures. The person who never gives up understands that success is the reward for persistence, not perfection. They don't wait to feel ready. They don't wait for inspiration. They don't wait to have all the answers. They simply continue. And one day they surpass everyone who started faster, who seemed more talented, who once looked more promising. If you want to become that person, you must change how you face adversity. Most people, when challenges arise, and wait for things to get easier. But those who endure keep moving forward. Despite fear, fatigue, or lack of motivation, they understand one simple truth: the only way out is through. Quitting brings temporary comfort but leaves long-term scars. Regret from not holding on will quietly haunt you. Every time you see someone succeed at what you once began, on the other hand, every time you choose to continue, even by a single step, you build inner resilience. You're proving to yourself, I am someone who follows through. So how do you cultivate the spirit of never giving up? First, eliminate the mindset of, I'll just try and see. When you say try, you've already allowed yourself the option to quit. People who never give up don't try, they commit. They declare to themselves, I will do this, no matter what happens. Second, accept that boredom and difficulty are part of the journey. There will be days when you feel like doing nothing, days when progress seems invisible. But those are the moments when consistency matters most, because it's in those moments that character is forged. Successful people aren't always motivated, they just do the work regardless of how they feel. And by continuing to act, they gradually regain momentum and turn it into powerful growth. Third, learn to stay connected to the process rather than obsessing over the result. When all you see is the finish line, you'll easily grow discouraged if results don't show. But if you learn to appreciate the journey, every small step, every quiet effort, you won't need a reason to keep going. The act itself, the progress itself becomes the reward. Those who never give up also know how to actively replenish their energy. They rest when needed, but they never abandon the path. They give themselves space to recover, not to surrender. They understand. Rest is not failure. It's part of the strategy of persistence. And most importantly, they build a new identity. Don't just say, I'll try not to quit. Say, I am the kind of person who never quits. From there, all your behaviors begin to align with that identity. You start to act like someone who is resilient. And with each consistent action, each day, your belief in yourself becomes unshakable. Remember, you don't need to win every day, but you do need to show up every day. You don't need to always move fast, but you do need to move forward just a little, every time, without stopping. The person who never gives up is the one who tries again the 100th time without bitterness over the 99 that failed. They are not broken by failure, they are strengthened by it. They don't see mistakes as the end, but as the raw material of growth. You can be that person, truly. You don't need more talent. You don't need to be extraordinary. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You just need to keep going. Stay in the game. Don't walk away just because the results haven't shown up yet, because results are only given to those still standing when the last applause rings out. I don't know what you've abandoned in your past, but I do know this. If you choose to continue today, that past has no power over your future. And if you're still here, still listening to these words, you still have one thing left. A chance. A chance to become the person who never gives up. Will you be that person? If there's one single moment that can change a person's life forever, it's not reading a book, attending a course, or listening to a powerful speech. It's the moment you stop blaming, the very instant you let go of all the reasons why you haven't succeeded, haven't moved forward, or haven't changed, and instead choose to take 100% responsibility for your results. That is when real transformation begins. I know you've been through difficult times. Maybe you've lost opportunities, been betrayed, or lacked the support you needed. I get it. But let me ask you this. If you keep retelling that same old story to explain your current situation, will your future truly be any different? Or are you just locking yourself into an outdated version of you that you no longer believe in? Excuses like, I'm too busy, I don't know where to start. I'm not good enough yet, or this isn't the right time may sound reasonable, but let's be honest. They are just polished disguises for something deeper. Fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of change, fear of facing yourself. And here's the truth. Fear never really disappears, but you can choose to act in spite of it. You can look yourself in the mirror and say, I am the one responsible for my results. That's where your power begins. When you take full responsibility for your life, you stop being a victim. You become a creator. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You begin to ask, what must I change to make sure this doesn't happen again? At that point, every mistake becomes a lesson. Every failure becomes feedback. Every struggle becomes a mirror for growth. You no longer need the world to change for you to succeed because you've begun changing yourself. You might say, but there are things I can't control. And that's true. You can't control the weather or what others think or the past. But you can absolutely control your response, your attitude, your decisions, and that's more than enough to rewrite the entire story of your life. I've met people who had every advantage and still failed because they were stuck in the habit of making excuses. On the other hand, I've seen people with almost nothing rise up, take ownership of every day, and move forward step by step. They don't ask, can I do this? They ask, what will I do next? That's the difference. Remember, every time you blame your circumstances, you hand over the steering wheel of your life to things you can't control. But when you take back full responsibility, you reclaim the power to lead. This doesn't mean you must do everything alone. It means you stop waiting for someone to rescue you. You stop needing permission to begin. You stop waiting for the world to become fairer before you take action. And when you act from a place of full responsibility, everything changes. Instead of thinking, I have to do this, you think, I choose to do this. You don't exercise because someone told you to. You do it because you respect yourself. You don't work because you fear losing your job. You work because you've chosen a life of meaning. Your actions are now powered by inner strength, not external pressure. Let me say this clearly. You don't need motivation to take responsibility. Motivation is a byproduct, not a prerequisite. It comes after action, not before. When you clean the room you've been avoiding, when you send that email you've been delaying for a week, when you stand up and begin to change even one small thing, you're building motivation from your own commitment. And stop waiting for perfection. You will stumble, you will make mistakes, you will get lost at times. But if you keep getting back up and say, I'm responsible, you will never truly fail. Because you're playing the long game, and in that game, the only way to lose is to stop playing. Start asking yourself daily, what excuse am I using to delay what I need to do? Am I waiting for someone else to change so I can live more easily? Am I blaming the weather, my job, other people, or even my past just to avoid owning today? And after you've answered with radical honesty, erase every excuse. Get up. Do the next right thing. No inspiration needed. No waiting for a better tomorrow. Just action right now. The sooner you break the habit of excuse making, the sooner you'll free yourself from old limits. The faster you take full responsibility, the faster you take back full control of your life. And one day, as you look back, you'll realize every great change began with one decision. The decision that you would stop blaming, that you would stop making excuses, that you would rise and write the next chapter of your life with your own hands, your whole heart, and relentless action. If you've ever wondered why some people reach mastery in their field while most remain average, the answer isn't natural talent. It lies in something deceptively simple: deliberate repetition. And I say this not to sound poetic or cliche, but because I've witnessed it, lived it, and guided many people toward becoming their best selves through a single principle: repeat the right thing over and over until you master it without even thinking. You may be enthusiastic about something once, but only when you commit to doing it every day, even without the excitement, do you begin to approach mastery. Because a master is not someone who was the best from the beginning. A master is someone who didn't stop at the 10th try, who didn't quit on the 50th attempt, and who kept going even after the 1000th repetition. Repetition is where real training begins. Ordinary people act when they feel motivated, but the extraordinary, they act even when bored, tired, or uninspired. They understand that emotions are fleeting, but skill is forever. You cannot expect real progress if you do something only a few times and give up. But if you're willing to repeat, little by little, every day, you'll witness something remarkable. You don't just get better, you start becoming the person you're trying to become. Think of the greatest piano players in the world. They don't have a secret. They've simply repeated finger movements, scales, and entire pieces for thousands of hours until their bodies no longer need to think. That's not genius. That's muscle memory. That's unconscious precision. That's a nervous system reprogrammed through deliberate repetition. And I want you to understand this: when you repeat an action, you're not just building a skill, you're reprogramming your identity. Every time you take an action, you embed it deeper into your subconscious. Repeat it often enough, and it becomes a reflex. And when action becomes reflex, you no longer need motivation to move. That's the ultimate advantage of those who persist. The average person retreats when the process becomes dull. The exceptional person understands that boredom is a sign something great is forming. When you do the same thing over and over until every detail becomes sharp and refined, you don't break through with a sudden explosion. You evolve through increasing precision. Remember, repetition is the most patient and most ruthless teacher. It spares no one. You can't trick it. But if you stay with it long enough, it will give you something no classroom ever could: unshakable confidence. Real confidence doesn't come from wishful thinking or bold declarations. It comes from having done something so many times that self-doubt no longer has space to exist. I've met many brilliant, talented people who never got far because they didn't stick with repetition. They tried a few times, didn't see results, and walked away. Meanwhile, the most successful people I've ever known chose one thing and repeated it until they reached near perfection. That's what made the difference. If you're feeling discouraged, if you're asking yourself, is it worth it? I want you to return to the core truth. Every skill, every habit, every ounce of confidence begins with small repetitions. And the more you repeat, the closer you get to the most excellent version of yourself. Don't wait until you're good to start repeating. It's the repetition that makes you good. Don't search for inspiration from the outside. Let each action be a step in reprogramming your mind, affirming your identity, and strengthening your belief. And if it feels hard, remember, you don't have to do everything at once. You just need to do one small thing every day. One push-up, one written page, one vocal warm-up, one practice drill, just one thing, repeated every single day without quitting. That is how you build a foundation for lasting mastery. I won't tell you this path is easy, but I will tell you it's the most certain. While others wait for opportunity, wait for inspiration, wait for a miracle, you will be quietly reprogramming your destiny through repetition. Look at the reality. The winner is not the one who starts with an advantage. The winner is the one who never stops repeating the right thing until the results become inevitable. You don't have to be fast, you just have to be consistent. You don't have to do more, you just have to repeat steadily. Let each day be a brick, and soon you'll have built a result others only dream of. Repetition is the secret of the masters. And now that secret belongs to you. The only question left is, are you willing to repeat the right thing until you become extraordinary? There will be moments when you want to give up. Days when you wake up and everything inside you screams, I'm tired, I can't keep going. It's not because you're weak. It's not because you lack motivation. It's because the path of personal growth always winds through the roughest turns, where you're forced to confront yourself. And right there, in that exact moment when you feel like quitting, your reaction will decide the entire course of your future. I've felt it too. Sitting alone in silence, wondering if my efforts were worth it, if anything would truly change, if I was even on the right path. But then I realized those moments when you feel like stopping aren't signs that you should stop. They're signs that you're getting closer to a breakthrough. You see, no one who's ever succeeded hasn't wanted to quit at some point. No one who's reached greatness hasn't doubted themselves. The difference lies here. The people who move forward, even just one step, are the ones who cross the fragile line between still trying and already quit. When you're exhausted, what you need isn't a reason to keep going. What you need is a quiet moment to return to why you began. Sit down, take a deep breath, and remember, why did you start this journey? What stirred you to change? What vision of yourself once lit the fire within you? That memory, your original reason, will hold you steady, even when your spirit feels like collapsing. It's also possible that you're in the blind zone of progress, a place where you're doing everything right, working relentlessly, but the results haven't surfaced yet. Like planting a seed, you water it daily, yet the soil remains still. Don't confuse silence with failure. Every major transformation begins quietly, underground. In moments when you want to quit, remember this: no one sees your progress until you break through. And that breakthrough only comes to the one who stayed, to the one who held on a little longer, to the one who chose not to walk away. Train yourself to build an anti-quitting reflex. When your mind starts repeating phrases like, I can't do this, I'm too tired, maybe later, learn to observe instead of obey. Those are just emotional waves, not truth. You don't have to act on them. Instead of asking, how do I get motivated again? Ask, what's one small thing I can do today to stay committed? Maybe it's 5 minutes of reading, 10 minutes of exercise, one email, one call, just one thing. Do that, and you'll realize action is the way out of crisis. Understand this: adversity doesn't show up to stop you. It shows up to test how serious you are about your goal. The exhaustion will pass, so will the doubt, but if you give up, you'll have to start over again. And those endless, unfinished beginnings is what keeps most people from ever reaching the finish line. If you've made it this far, you deserve to finish. You deserve to experience consistency. You deserve to witness how far you can go if you stop quitting on yourself. There's one thing I always remind the people I mentor: quitting is a habit, but thankfully, so is continuing. And you get to choose. Every time you persist, even a little, you're breaking the old pattern of giving up that's been holding you back for years. And then one day, when the next challenge comes, you'll smile, because you'll know you've already survived moments far harder than this. Confidence won't be a slogan. It'll be a living truth inside your mind. What you're doing today, even if it's small, even if it's just resisting the urge to surrender, is rewriting your destiny. The more you endure in hard times, the more you forge a powerful weapon no one can take from you: the character of someone who doesn't give up easily. No one wins every day, But the real winners are the ones who refuse to quit on their worst days. So if today you feel like giving up, just pause. Don't act, just wait. Don't decide anything while tired. Tomorrow you'll be stronger. And then you'll thank yourself for not giving up. There's a strange truth that few are willing to accept. Success doesn't come from giant leaps. It comes from small, steady steps, often boring, often invisible, repeated every single day. I say this with full conviction because I've lived it and I've watched thousands of others rise out of stagnation through one small win every day. You don't need to do something grand today, but you do need to do one right thing, even if it's so small that no one notices. Write one paragraph. Fold your blanket. Walk for 10 minutes. Say no to a negative invitation. Drink one more glass of water. Log off social media 15 minutes earlier than usual. Small actions like these, when done with intention, stack into changes you could never predict. People often underestimate the power of a small step because they're obsessed with the image of the big leap. But they forget every leap is made up of hundreds of quiet, preparatory steps. Success is not an event. It is the compounded outcome of countless invisible actions. Why should you focus on small steps? Because small steps lower your mental resistance. When you stare at a big goal, your brain instantly activates defense mode. Am I good enough? How long will this take? What about everything else? But when you say, I just need to do one small thing today, your mind no longer feels afraid. It's free to act. Small steps are also the antidote to procrastination. When you delay because you're waiting for more time, more inspiration, more perfection, small steps are what pull you out of the loop. Just start. Just do something. Don't wait until you can run. Begin by walking. Even more, small steps create sustainable motivation through real results. Every time you complete a tiny task, your brain releases dopamine, that chemical spark of satisfaction and momentum. You don't need a motivational book. You don't need an inspiring video every morning. You just need that small, quiet victory each day. This is how momentum is built. And once momentum starts, it carries you further than any short burst of inspiration ever could. When you win over yourself today, you're more likely to win again tomorrow. When you write one paragraph, you'll feel like writing another. When you resist temptation once, you'll feel stronger the next time. I've met many people who struggled for years to start something, writing a book, losing weight, learning a new skill, until they finally broke through by committing to one simple daily promise. Every day, I'll give 15 minutes to this, no more, no less. Miraculously, within a few weeks, their lives began to change. Not because they did more, but because they did it consistently. Remember, consistency beats intensity. A person who writes 30 minutes daily will finish their book before someone who pulls all-nighters but loses momentum. A person who works out 15 minutes each morning will be healthier than someone who hits the gym for 3 hours once a week and quits after one. It's not about how much you do. It's about whether you show up the next day. And the surest way to keep showing up, don't overdo it, do just enough. Finish while you still want to do more. That's how you sustain the flame. You'll also realize that small steps build self-trust. Every day you keep a promise to yourself, even a tiny one, is a day you tell yourself, I follow through. And self-trust, when nurtured through steady action, becomes an armor that shields you from doubt and distraction. Don't underestimate an ordinary day, because when you string together 365 ordinary days with one intentional action each, you get an extraordinary year. And that's not a miracle. That's a clear, repeatable formula. I want you to understand this deeply. Everything great begins from something very small. Don't chase miracles out there. The miracle is here, in your ability right now to make a slightly better choice than yesterday. That choice will trigger a cascade of other choices, and one day you'll look back and realize I've come this far just by taking small steps. And if someday you feel tired, doubtful, unable to go on, return to the very first small step. You don't have to change the world, just clean your desk. Just turn off your phone notifications. Just stand up and walk for 5 minutes. Today's small win is the seed of tomorrow's big victory. You don't need to do it perfectly, just do it consistently. You don't need to move a mile, just take one step. You don't need to be a hero, just don't quit. And you will win, one day at a time. I used to believe that to change my life, I needed to change myself, try harder, be more determined, more disciplined. But then I discovered a deeper truth. It's incredibly difficult to change yourself if you keep everything else around you the same. Not because you're weak, but because the environment you live and work in every day is silently reprogramming your behavior, emotions, and thoughts, minute by minute, hour by hour. If you're trying to grow while surrounded by things that drag you down, it will always feel like you're swimming upstream, and no one, no matter how strong, can swim against the current forever. Every time you decide to take action, you're not just battling procrastination or fear within, you're battling the context around you. If your environment is full of noise, negativity, or lack of direction, you'll easily lose momentum. That's why one of the most powerful levers you can use to change your life is not to start with changing yourself, but to change the environment you put yourself in. Think about it. If you wake up each day in a cluttered room, the first thing you see is your phone, notifications, and the endless noise of social media, how can you start your day with clarity, presence, and intention? If you work in a space filled with distractions, surrounded by people who constantly complain or delay, how can you maintain long-term focus? Your environment is like the water you're swimming in. And if that water's polluted, no matter how good you are at swimming, you'll get dragged under. Here's the good news. You can design your environment to support your long-term goals. You don't need to move cities or find the perfect place. You just need to start with small, powerful shifts. First is your physical space, where you sleep, work, eat, move. Clean it. Simplify it. Put the important things in plain sight and remove the distractions. A book on your desk makes it easier to read. Workout shoes by the door make it easier to move. A smart environment reduces your reliance on willpower because it pulls you into right action automatically. Next is your people environment, those you interact with each day. I urge you to reflect honestly. Is there someone who holds you back? Someone who makes you doubt yourself? Someone who makes you feel like you're not enough? And on the flip side, who uplifts you? Who inspires you to be better? Relationships don't just affect your mood, they shape your direction. Sometimes you don't need advice. You just need to be around people who live right. Their energy bounces back onto you. Their discipline makes you question your excuses. Their calmness helps you find your own. If you don't yet have those kinds of people in real life, create a virtual environment. Don't underestimate the power of what you watch, listen to, and read every day. The podcasts you play in the morning, the YouTube channels you follow, the articles you bookmark, they're all shaping your mindset. If you hear complaints every day, you'll start believing life is unfair. But if you hear stories of resilience, you'll start believing you're capable too. Be selective with your input. Clean your digital space. Unfollow anything that makes you feel worse about yourself. Turn off notifications that don't serve you, and give more of your attention to content that brings you back to yourself, that sharpens your focus, steadies your thoughts, and strengthens your spirit. Environment also includes your habits and your daily structure. Don't let life carry you wherever it wants. Design your day. A morning with gentle music, natural light, and a screen-free moment grounds you more than any coffee. One deep, focused hour of work will take you further than an entire day of distraction. When you control your rhythm, you take back control of your life. Here's the key truth I want you to remember. You can't rise by changing it by changing it. If you want to read more, put books everywhere. If you eat better, clear the junk from your kitchen. If you want to create more, set up a quiet, well-lit space that invites your focus. You can't expect yourself to live with discipline if your environment constantly invites you to surrender. You can't expect consistency if you're surrounded by people who constantly quit. But here's the good news. You don't need anyone's permission to change that. You are the architect of your environment. Every behavior is triggered by a cue. Change the cue, and the behavior will follow. Make the right thing easy to do. Make the wrong thing harder. Don't let your success depend on your willpower. Let it be supported by your environment. And finally, ask yourself, is your current environment, from your space to your people to your habits and digital inputs, lifting you up or pulling you down? If the answer makes you uncomfortable, don't panic. Just begin with one small change. Clear your desk. Pick one book. Unfollow one negative account. Message one inspiring friend. One simple act, and you've already begun rewriting your next chapter. Changing your environment may seem quiet, simple, but it is one of the most powerful tools used by the most consistent and successful people, because they know when you change where you stand, the way you see your life begins to change too. There's one truth I want you to remember forever. Every result in life is just the tip of the iceberg. The part beneath, the part that truly determines everything, is your mindset. It's not the action alone that shapes your life, it's how you think about that action. And it's not your circumstances that define your fate, it's how you interpret those circumstances. Mindset is not something abstract or distant. It's the foundation, the filter, the central control system that governs everything you do, from how you begin a small task to how you face adversity. I've seen people who are incredibly hardworking, deeply talented, yet they can't seem to break through. And I've seen others who started with nothing but rose with strength and created extraordinary success. The difference, it's here. Mindset. The first group carries a fixed mindset. I'm not good enough. I can't change who I am. I was born this way. The second group embraces a growth mindset. I don't know yet, but I can learn. I haven't succeeded yet, but I can improve daily. I will create a better version of myself. You can't control everything that happens to you, but you can control how you respond. That's where mindset begins to reveal its power. When you face failure, do you blame yourself and give up? Or do you extract the lesson, get back up, and move forward? When motivation is low, do you wait for inspiration, or do you remind yourself that action creates motivation? When others judge you, do you bend to please them, or stay aligned with your values? Strong mindset isn't about always being positive. It's about facing reality and still choosing a more empowering belief. It's when you say, I'm struggling, but I'm not defeated. It's when you say, I'm tired, but I will still do what needs to be done. It's when you refuse to let emotions dictate your actions and instead choose to lead yourself. One of the biggest mindset shifts I ever made was when I stopped asking, how do I feel? And started asking, what's the right thing to do right now? Emotions fluctuate wildly, high one moment, foggy the next, but the right action is always clear. A successful person isn't someone who always feels good, but someone who does the right thing even when they feel nothing. That's mindset discipline. Mindset is also how you retell the story of your life. You can say, I failed, so I'm afraid to try again. Or you can say, I failed, and that experience taught me how to grow stronger and do better. You can say, life is too hard on me. Or you can say, the challenges I've faced built a spirit that doesn't give up. Same event, different story. The right mindset doesn't rewrite the facts. It rewrites the meaning to empower you instead of weaken you. You must also transform how you think about process and outcome. Most people obsess over outcomes. How many pounds did I lose? How much money did I make? Did I get there yet? But high performers focus on the process. Did I improve compared to yesterday? Am I staying true to my goal? Am I consistent even when there's no result yet? When you fall in love with the process, you stop quitting. And when you commit to action, results come as a natural byproduct, not as something forced. Beware of the waiting mindset. I'll start when I'm ready. You will never feel truly ready. No one does. Those who act are the ones who begin before they feel ready and become ready along the way. You don't need more time, more knowledge, or more validation. You need only one thing, the belief that you are enough to start now. Another mindset shift I want you to engrave deep in your soul: success is not a destination, it's how you live each day. You don't need to wait until you have it all to be considered successful. You are successful every time you keep a promise to yourself, every time you choose the hard right over the easy wrong, every time you rise after a fall, every time you walk through fear and keep moving forward. And finally, a powerful mindset is a mindset of responsibility. No blaming, no complaining, no waiting. You take 100% ownership of your life, not others, not circumstances, not the past. When you fully believe, if I don't do it, no one will do it for me, you are no longer a victim of life. You become the architect of it. I believe this with all my heart. The difference between someone who merely exists and someone who lives fully isn't their conditions, it's the mindset they carry into each day. One says, how can I avoid failure? The other says, how can I learn from anything that happens? One says, I'm not sure I can. The other says, I'll try and I'll learn. You carry within you far more strength than you realize, but to unlock it, you must start from within. Transform your mindset, and everything else will follow. You don't need another book. You don't need another motivational video. And you don't need someone to come and pull you out of your rut. Because if you've made it this far, something inside you has already stirred. Something that truly wants to change. Something that no longer wants to live a life of delay, mediocrity, or dependence on fleeting inspiration. I'm not going to tell you the journey ahead will be easy, but I will tell you this: it will be worth it, worth beginning, worth enduring, worth rejecting every excuse and rising for your own sake. You will get tired, you will want to quit. You will have moments of self-doubt, of questioning the outcome, and maybe even questioning the entire world around you. But if you keep going, even just one more step, even in silence, you'll be doing what few ever dare to do: living a life on purpose. You don't need to change the whole world, just change the way you act today. Wake up 10 minutes earlier, write one more line, turn off one notification, or simply refuse to quit one more time. I want you to understand this: you don't fail because you lack ability. You only fail when you refuse to start again. And every time you choose to keep going, even quietly, you're rewriting the definition of who you can become. Remember this: no one can live your life for you. No one can take responsibility on your behalf. And no one can stop someone who's truly committed to themselves. This world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs you, your truth, your persistence, and your readiness to live fully. And if there's one thing I hope you take away from all of this, it's this: every moment is a chance to begin again. Not tomorrow, but right now. And no one can stop someone who's truly committed to themselves. This world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs you, your truth, your persistence, and your readiness to live fully. And if there's one thing I hope you take away from all of this, it's this: every moment is a chance to begin again. Not tomorrow.